The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads.
Well. It ain't old Florida State wetting their diapers. The old fake Indians are down there losing their bowels in Tallahassee, the home of rapist Winston. Don't surprise. It shouldn't surprise me. Florida State has always had a little bit of shadiness about them ever since Bobby Bowden retired. And now they're melting down again, wetting their diapers once again about the ACC. Let's talk about it. Before we get started with today's show, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, McFab LLC, laser cleaning powder coated signage, as you can see right up here. Great sign that Matt Williams made me. His information will be scrolling across the screen down here. Also, Moe's Woodsmith Shop, never any lasers, handcrafted cutting boards, or anything that you want on a piece of wood. Eric Mofield can do it. His information's at the bottom of the screen as well. Anything you want on a piece of wood, Eric Mofield is your man. And I can also be reached at OCF Productions on X or Twitter or whatever y'all want to call it today. Y'all can call it the Canyon of Jupiter. I don't care. But I like to give Elon Musk just a little hell about that. I do like Elon Musk. I just don't see why he changed the name to X. But now, getting right to it here, it seems like the old fake Indians are down there burning the teepees up in Tallahassee. Don't really surprise me, as I said in the lead up, because they've been quite shady ever since Bobby Bowden retired. But I'm going to bring up an article from Pete Thamel, a pretty trusted source in sports. And basically, Florida State is suing the grant of rights. And there's never been a way to get out of these grant of rights. So I guess Florida State is trying to make history in that sense, even though it's going to be a somewhat notorious setting of history. As you can see right here, this is from Pete Thamel. It says it has been a year of bold talk for Florida State University. We'll find out soon if that talk dovetails into a historical legal challenge. In February, FSU officials put the ACC on alert last year, with athletic director Michael Alford declaring something has to change. We all know about all the crap that's been going on all through the offseason, and now even to the postseason. Surprise, surprise, Florida State is at the center of all the drama, even with the playoff, which they didn't get into. And I'm not going to get into all that because everybody, it's like 50-50 split down the middle on whether Florida State deserved to be in the playoff or not. But since the regular season ended, FSU has been issuing scathing statements by officials at every level directed at the college football playoff. That includes Alford calling the decision to exclude the undefeated Seminoles unforgivable, as I just said. Florida State has now called a board meeting for Friday, which was last Friday, where sources indicate, and they did, are expected to begin the legal process of challenging the ACC grant of rights and therefore the school's long-term future in the league. And that would set the stage for a legal standoff between Florida State and the ACC, which could be one of the highest stakes of legal battles in college athletics histories. There has never been a known legal challenge to a grant of rights. There's no way to get out of it. The words of the Florida State leadership in 2023 and the sports upheaval since Oklahoma and Texas began bolting. So everybody's blaming this on the SEC once again. The SEC and Oklahoma and Texas get all the blame for causing all this supposed turmoil. Well, hey, we do what we got to do in the SEC in order to make this conference the best it can be. And that's why the SEC has won, like 17 national championships this century alone. But there's a little article from Pete Thamel. But I don't really need an article to tell me what's going on here. Florida State basically made a deal in good faith with all the other ACC members. This ain't like Texas and Oklahoma, not even close. So for Florida State people and Clemson people to some degree to be saying, hey, we're just doing what Oklahoma and Texas did. We're just doing what USC and UCLA did, and Oregon and Washington, and so on, with the other four corner schools that joined the Big 12. No, you're not. Those deals were up, Florida State. Y'all not only signed this deal, as I said earlier, y'all signed this deal once, and then y'all signed it again. Y'all did. Nobody made y'all put ink to paper. Now, y'all going to go back and try to say, oh, y'all were bullied by ESPN or some other horse shit. But we all know that y'all have no loyalty whatsoever. I can tell you exactly what Florida State's thinking and how I think this is all going to end up shaking out for them in the ACC. Before I get to that, like I said, I'm shaking things up a little bit today, doing things a little bit differently. Here they come once again, riding on It's the Outlaw Posse. Now, in effect, and today's four horsemen shout-outs go to Robert Brownfield, Zach Hamner, Trucking with Cliff, and Tim Gillespie are mounted up and saddled up and ready to go and help us with today's college football invasion. If you want to get your badge and get deputized and be one of the random four horsemen shout-outs possibly, as well as be the comment of the day, it's just $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water, and you'll be in the Outlaw Posse. Now, getting back to it, what Florida State, in my opinion, is thinking to themselves, look, we know we probably can't challenge this, but we're going to make such a stink and throw such a damn tantrum and fit and cause so much angst within the conference that the ACC will acquiesce and let us out. But I don't think that they're thinking this thing through too much. As a matter of fact, they may not have a landing place of their desire. They may not end up in the Big Ten or the SEC, especially with the shots they were taking at the SEC for getting into the playoff and all the other conferences that they've been taking shot at. Even the ACC, their own conference, they've been throwing under the bus. No wonder the ACC commissioner didn't go to bat for you and try to help and sway the committee like Greg Sankey did for the SEC. You see, because you've been selling them out for the past year and a half. And the Big Ten might be the only landing spot for you because the way you've been talking smack on the ACC and the SEC, neither one of them conferences may want you. And I don't even know if the Big Ten will want you. If I'm the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't want this kind of drama. These cats signed a contract in good faith, not once but twice, as I've already said ad nauseum, and now they're trying to renege on it. And that's what they're good at Florida State. They're good at reneging on stuff and trying to cover stuff up and being shady. They've on back to the day of Rapist Winston. They've been covering stuff up. And to me, they're just like a cancerous program, man. I would not let them in my conference. Their only landing spot might end up being the Big 12. Big 12 would be happy to get them. It wouldn't be much more money than what they're getting in the ACC. It might be a little bit more, but not enough to do what they're doing and causing the stank that they're causing. And that's what they're doing. And if Florida State does leave, they think that, the ACC is just going to come around and acquiesce and give them their way because they just don't want to hear them anymore. The ACC really can't afford to do that. They just had to backfill with Stanford and SMU and Cal because they had a feeling that this kind of crap was coming. It's not going to just be Florida State leaving. There's other member institutions of the ACC that are just as shady and wanting out of this deal, just like Florida State. They're just not willing to make themselves look like a complete ass of a program. That being Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, possibly Miami and Georgia Tech, maybe Virginia Tech, NC State. All those teams may be in consideration or may be considering leaving if Florida State somehow is the sacrificial lamb that tries to find this loophole that really, to me, don't exist. These other teams that got out of the conferences, like I mentioned before, they waited till their contracts were up. They served their contracts out at least up to the point where there was only like a year left. This is 2036. And that's 13 years from now. The ACC and ESPN would have to be stupid to acquiesce to Florida State. And Florida State better be careful because they might get a detrimental type treatment from the ACC when it comes to officiating. Just saying. I mean, I saw it with Texas and Oklahoma somewhat. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't normally blame officiating, but there was some nefarious stuff going on last year with Texas and Oklahoma. So, if Florida State does get their way and they throw a big enough fit, I do think that eventually the ACC may end up coming to some kind of middle ground with them just to get rid of them. But I think it's probably going to be, like the article says, it's going to be a legal battle that's going to take a few years. It ain't going to be like Texas and Oklahoma and USC and UCLA leaving about 2 years later. They're probably going to have to wait, in my opinion, 5 or 6 years before they get out. And then I think there's just going to be a lot of angst going on. And after Florida State leaves, like I said, I think the next team to leave will be probably Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and NC State. I see all them schools probably leaving. Now, where they end up, that's another thing. Florida State, like I said, been pissing everybody's Wheaties. They might not have many options. Hell, they might end up being an independent like Notre Dame or something. That's another team. Notre Dame is a big get. And I think Notre Dame got their AAU stats because they know that they're going to end up having to give in and probably join the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten will probably take Florida State just to get in the Florida market. But they could also take Miami. But if they did that, like I've mentioned before to a lot of people on here, the SEC should try to surprise the Big Ten and go after Notre Dame. I know it says Southeastern Conference, but nobody's really going by geography except for the SEC now. They could change the acronym from the Southeastern Conference to the Sports Entertainment Conference, and that way they can cover the entire United States just like the Big Ten and the Big 12s do. While the SEC doesn't really want the Big Ten in Florida, I think they may let one of them slip through, either Florida State or Miami. And I think what's going to happen is the SEC may surprise some people, and they may not go after either Florida State or Miami. But I think more than likely they may end up trying to at least get one of those Florida schools to keep the Big Ten from completely having two big money-making brands in the state of Florida. So I think that because of the way Florida State's been acting here lately, the SEC may not be down with having them in the conference. We shall see. But after that, I think it'll be a combination of Clemson and North Carolina and maybe Virginia Tech and Virginia going to the SEC. And the Big Ten, I think, will come in and grab Florida State and maybe Miami too. And I think they may even go after Georgia Tech to get in that Atlanta market, as well as possibly get Virginia or Virginia Tech, whichever one the SEC doesn't get. Now, the Big Ten probably has a little bit more money than the SEC, so they may be able to pick the one they want, unless the SEC ponies up more money. And if it gets into a bidding war, I would expect that they would both probably go after Virginia. Now, Virginia Tech does have a better football tradition than Virginia. So the SEC may just go ahead and say, look, you can have Virginia, and we'll take Virginia Tech. But you guys and gals tell me what you think. Well, how do y'all think this whole mess is going to pan out? And how do you think the ACC is going to handle Florida State going forward? Now, for the comment of the day. The comment of the day comes from Darth Iskines. Darth Iskines says, Crimson is the color of winners for sure. Finally, a four horseman shout out. Yeah, you got a four horseman shout out last show. I do believe my Sooners are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC, even though so many people want us to fail so badly. And that is the comment of the day from Darth Iskines. Also, there's a little heart down here. If you don't mind, you can throw a one-time donation in the program. Just smash that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers. And as I said before, you can also join the Outlaw Posse. It's not but $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. Get your badge, get deputized, get the random four horseman shout out of the week, possibly be the comment of the day. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It's the big four, and they're most important, and they're free. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.